What's up, fam? It's your girl Naia, the self-crowned reaction queen, and today we're diving into something that hits home for all you gamers out there. We're checking out this video titled Why It's So Hard to Find a Game You Actually Like from I'm Not Playing That. I mean, can we talk about the struggle? You sit down ready to game and then boom, nothing feels right. I'm super curious to see what they have to say about this, so you know it's gonna be a wild ride if you're vibing with the gaming life and want to see how we break this down together. Make sure to smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get into it.
When I was young, my parents would take me to Blockbuster to rent a video game. Renting a video game. I feel like that term is almost alien to a lot of young people today. But back in the mid-90s to early 2000s, you'd walk into Blockbuster, pick any game you want off.
Blockbuster was the ultimate hangout spot. Just walking in and seeing all those game covers was like stepping into a treasure chest. The nostalgia is real. It's wild how different things are now with digital downloads.
Any game you want off the shelf. I always had these demo discs that were included at the back of it. I would bring those discs home and play those demos over and over and over again because I love trying new games and getting lost in these worlds. It sounds crazy to me now, but back then, I loved it.
It's wild how much gaming has evolved. Back then, just playing a demo felt like a whole adventure. Now, with all these options, it's like a buffet of gaming experiences.
I loved it. Fast forward. There was no season passes, no pre-order bonuses, no microtransactions. You paid a price and you got
How the good old days, just buying a game and diving right in without all the extra nonsense. It was all about the gameplay, not the cash grabs.
You paid a price and you got a because developers are trying to make all of their yearly revenue off of one IP instead of multiple.
That's a major shift in strategy. Focusing on one IP for revenue makes sense from a business standpoint. But it can really limit creativity and variety in gaming. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
Once they catch success with a good one, they just milk it for as long as they possibly can, and that's really part of the problem. On top of that, let's not forget that early access is also a thing. Could you imagine if 20 years ago someone told you that for a price you could play an incomplete game? People would laugh you out of the room. Sure, there are plenty of great early access games out there on the market, but how many early access titles exist that have just been sitting in limbo for years after they've already collected money from the customer? So have video game companies changed for the worse over the years? In some ways, they have. You could definitely say that video game companies, for the most part, have shifted their focus from creating great iconic games to focusing more on increasing revenue streams, but it's also important to consider the evolution of video games as a whole as well. When video games first appeared on the scene, they were simple and primitive by today's standards. They were played on rudimentary devices like the Atari 2600 or the Commodore 64, and
Those classics were the foundation of gaming. It's amazing to think how far we've come from those simple graphics and gameplay. They had a charm that's hard to replicate.
They often involve simple gameplay mechanics like shooting at enemies or avoiding obstacles. These games were fun in their own way, but they were also limited by the technology of the time. As the years went by, technology advanced and video games became more complex, more sophisticated. With the advent of 3D graphics and more powerful hardware, developers were able to create games that were more immersive and realistic. But with this complexity came a lot of challenges for developers. They had to balance the desire to push the boundaries of what was possible with the need to keep the gameplay accessible but yet also enjoyable. With all these new innovations and new technologies also came new problems. Games that were made just 25 years ago didn't have the same complexity of the games that we have today. Today, games are held to a much higher standard than they used to. We no longer judge a game based off of just gameplay or how fun it is anymore. We scrutinize games for their graphics, their sound design, their storyline and writing, their acting, even how glitchy or buggy the game is.
It's true nowadays, a game can be a total blast to play, but if it's glitchy or has a weak story, people will tear it apart. The bar is set so high now.
Couple all of this with the fact that game companies have tight budgets and holiday deadlines to maximize sales, and it's no surprise that we have unfinished, buggy day one releases.
Run! Woo!
But perhaps it is us that are changing, and not our games. As we get older, our interests change. We have more responsibilities, more commitments. As a kid, my biggest problem was trying to finish my homework, and my biggest commitment was showing up for that raid in World of Warcraft after school. Today, I hardly have the time to enjoy the things I loved doing every single day as a kid. These days, when I finally find the time to sit down and play a game, I almost feel overwhelmed. A huge open-world 80-plus hour game seems almost like a burden, a daunting task that's...
I totally get that. Sometimes, the thought of diving into a massive game feels more like a chore than fun. It's like, where do you even start? A good short game can be such a relief.
Daunting task that's scary than actually playing the games that are on my list. I'm even guilty of this with Netflix. I'll browse Netflix's catalog more than watching anything on the platform. So it comes down to this. Do I have enough time to play the games I want to play? Am I getting older and my interests in games are changing? Are video games getting worse? Are video games getting better? Honestly, there's a lot of questions here, but what it boils down to is this.
It sounds like we're diving deep into some real gaming philosophy here. It's fascinating how our relationship with games evolves over time. Whether it's nostalgia or the thrill of new experiences, it all plays a part in how we enjoy gaming today.
I think everything...
And that wraps up today's reaction. Fem, we took a wild ride through why it's so hard to find a game you actually like. Man, it hit hard, right? That nostalgia for Blockbuster was real. I loved reminiscing about those simpler times when gaming was all about pure fun. Not just chasing trends and cash grabs. Can we also talk about how the gaming landscape has changed? It's a buffet of options now, but sometimes less is more. Like, who wants to feel like they're trapped in a maze of choices? Gotta say, it's crazy how expectations have skyrocketed. Games used to just be about having a good time, but now if there's a glitch or a weak story, yikes, you guys really felt me on that thought about how diving into long games can feel like a chore sometimes. Sometimes you just need that quick, satisfying win. If you felt the vibe today, show your girl some love, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and smash that like button if you enjoyed our chat. Let's keep it rolling and keep those good vibes coming, fam. Can't wait to see you in the next one.